This is part 2 of Jay Follman, The Last Man Standing. Jay is the owner of a multi-million-dollar construction company, Industrial Resources Incorporated, with locations in Washington, Alaska. He served as a volunteer firefighter for 30 years. He's a musician, singer, and loves anything fast and loud. He's a legendary sprint car racer. Jay also has a life PhD in addiction. He has overcome his own challenges and has gone on to help many others with theirs. We've titled today's episode, The Last Man Standing, An Addict's Road to Recovery. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce my friend, Jay Follman.
I think when we talked before, I was talking about, I have this picture of the opening day of the North Cascades Highway, and I had this big old panel truck with mermaids and stuff painted on it. And we were up at the summit, and I'm there with three of my really close friends. We all got long hair. We look like idiots. And anyway, and I'm the only person in that photograph that didn't die. One heroin, another heroin and drugs. The third one was drunk and asphyxiated himself in his car with an exhaust leak while living in a van down by the river, right out of the Chris Farley comedy act. Right, you're gonna be living in a van down by the river. One of my best friends, that's what he was doing, and it was a cold night, and he had an exhaust leak, and he's living in a van down by the river, and I made it through, and there is
and that's why you're the last man standing.
I'm the last man standing, and I think I probably wasn't as sick as they were. We were all sick. God, we were drinking when we were freshmen. We were drinking when we were eighth graders. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And so we kind of knew. At least I did.
Yeah.
We had a pretty well-known biology teacher at Mount Vernon High School named Don Sundin, and he told us one day, I think we were sophomores, he said, you kids that get drunk both nights on the weekend, you're alcoholic. And I was sitting next to one of my closest friends, and we looked at each other, and years later we said, we acknowledged that. We understood. He did us a favor. So I never felt like, it's just a couple of beers. That's the ultimate. People said, oh, well, it's just, And so sometimes I tease them. I say, what you're telling me is, I just had a couple of beers.
Right.
And I'm saying, when you say that, I hear, I just completely failed, broke down to pressure, internal and external, and imbibed something that could kill my life and disappointed everybody around me.
Yeah.
I got a special ear for that. Well, you think I'm going to say, you just had a couple of beers. Well, no. Yeah, that's not true.
The thing is we know we're alcoholics. We know we have a problem way before we ever address it too.
Yep.
I mean, I knew it at probably 14, 15 years old. Yeah. And I didn't quit until I was 24.
Yeah. Well, that's another reason why we quit so young, is we both started early.
Yeah.
I was drinking when I was 13, 14 years old,
Yeah.
A couple of songs we're working on down here are old Hank Williams songs, including Lost Highway. And there was a PBS did a pretty good country western, a special Ken Byrne did on a bunch of country western folks. And they flat out stated that Hank Williams, started drinking when he was 10.
Wow.
10. He lived and he died at 29,
Yeah.
In the backseat of his baby blue Cadillac on his way from a snowed out gig in northern Arkansas, heading to, died on that lost highway somewhere. That's the song we're working on. It's Lost Highway.
Okay.
Died on that lost highway at the age of 29. You start that young, and wow, I guess the good news is you can kind of run your way through it.
Yeah.
So you drank for 10 years. See, I started when I was probably about the same 14. So I drank for, 14 or 15 years.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just tell people, everyone's allotted a certain amount of drinks. And so I just drank mine up at 29. I got a tap on the shoulder and said, "Excuse me, sir." Like at closing time, right? "Excuse me, sir. That's your last drink.
Yeah.
You've drank them all. I'm only 29. That's the law. You're done." So, you do have to harden yourself to just having the resolve not to go down that rabbit hole, But when you realize what it has cost you or what it could cost you, I think that I think that's like, I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff, but I'm afraid of failure, and I'm afraid of, of relapsing. Even this many years later, I'm afraid of relapsing and going back to that. I don't think I ever will. Got a pretty good rule going, but I don't ever take it for granted,
And I agree with you.
I love that people are having so much fun drinking now, though. I really do, because most people can drink. My wife drinks, my older brother, he has a drink here and there, My younger brother, he doesn't drink because he runs the Follman agency. And it's not that he's alcoholic. He just thinks it sets a poor example. And I've respected that all these years. But so I'm definitely afraid of, definitely afraid of failure and relapsing and becoming, a person that's drinking a lot. So, but you can get that resolve and change your life and succeed like you did by, I think, just a lot of education that helps fortify that, It's like if it's you versus the demon,
Right.
It's like a Greco-Roman wrestling match, it's you versus this demon. But if you know more, if you say, I know this is poisonous for me. I know that if I drank that alcohol, I'm going to get that false sense of well-being, and I'm going to keep drinking. And then I'm going to get that false sense of well-being. And then I'm going to get a little bit louder and louder. And pretty soon I'm going to be a full-on, the drunken person I didn't like to be. And that's why I don't want anything to do with it. We just, I go out to drink. I pay some big bar bills. Let's just say that.
Right.
A lot of the musicians, we go out at night and in construction and commercial fishing. We, I do appreciate the fact that other people can drink, just not me.
Right. Well, and that's the thing with me too, is, as I'm going around the country speaking and talking to people and coaching people and helping people, they ask I've had a lot of people ask, what's the number one thing you're most proud of in your life?
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about my daughters. I love my daughters to death. They're great kids. They're the light of my life.
Yeah.
But my number one thing is my sobriety.
Yeah.
And people kind of look at me and they're like, it's not your kids. I go, I wouldn't have my kids if it weren't for my sobriety.
That's right. It goes all the way down.
Yeah.
To your soul. I mean, it goes all the way down. And, you're able to go forth into the world.
Yeah.
With confidence and good health. And if you waste a bunch of money, you end up with something for it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it was a boat or, or whatever you like to spend your money on, a $5,000 guitar, knock yourself out. You've earned it,
Yep.
But I just can't. One of the things about being, a person who's been relatively high profile as a founding member of the Follman Agency, and everybody knows that name, and so people talk to me about it. I'm just really a zealot for sobriety, and I'm glad you are too, especially with doing what you're doing now, and you're able to, because people can, do. I know it's a lot of what you're doing, because people that are hopefully that are going to your work, watching you in the podcast, this kind of stuff. They need to understand, that you're exactly right. I mean, you've got this this stone foundation for success. But if you're drinking alcohol, that bottom of that foundation is not there. Yeah. And going forward, there's a couple of opportunities I didn't have because of drinking, but and one of them was where I was going to go partners with a guy on a crab fishing vessel in Alaska with 3 partners. And the other 3 were huge partying guys. Yeah. And I had just quit drinking, and I fell out of that, and they quit inviting me to the meetings, and they bought this crab boat, and everything went pretty well for them. And, but the main one who wanted me in is passed away. He died young. And so I didn't really need to do that, but kind of another funny thing in the commercial, in the commercial construction, part of the thing. Real old school business like that, alcohol used to be a part of that, like golf. Oh, yeah. I didn't golf, but I wasn't a good designated drinker. So I always had a couple of guys on the staff, we were traveling and we were in Los Angeles or Anchorage or something working on a job, that they would go, we would go take the client out for dinner. Right. And I would always just kind of slip out early and they would close down the bar. And if they closed down the bar, we always got the job, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of those old school people, they didn't feel comfortable, as comfortable, like they developed a relationship with people, which was with a lot of trust. And there's a lot of trust in, if you're going to sign a multi-million-dollar contract, to have somebody do something for you, whether it's your money or your boss's money,
right?
And so they get to know the feel at people that way. And so much of that happens after people break down their inhibitions with the alcohol, right? And they let people in their inner circle. Yeah. So if my guys, could get them out to dinner, or we'd get them out to dinner. If I could slip out, I would I'd say, well, gee, it's 10 o'clock. I have to go do something, whatever, and my guys that were the lounge lizards, I would affectionately refer to them as lounge lizards, unrepentant lounge lizards. And, and they'd get in at 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, how'd it go last night? Of course, they'd feel like hell, and I'd feel real good.
Yeah.
And they'd say, well, I think we got the job,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, anybody that's trying to get ahead in business, and fortunately, that's kind of going away. That old school, they go out drinking, that's kind of going away. And those guys don't, we're the guys that tended not to learn how to be computer wizards, so we're dinosaurs, like a big old Stegosaurus tail here in the room with me. But, I hope that the people that are, working your program and following your example, can understand. I'm sure they can, what a huge difference maker it is, because you imagine yourself like I imagine myself all these many years later. If I'd continued down that path, would I be in the graveyard pushing up daisies? Probably. Or prison. And the worst thing about it is that, is I don't know what would be worse, to have been, to have died young, or to have, lived a life and disappoint people. And, but I never really wanted my daughter was 1 year old, and I was in our old house on the North Shore of Clear Lake there. And I was looking at her one day and I said, when I grew up as a tradesperson, I always kind of have just a little bit less respect for the dads that drank a lot. Yeah. So what would you tell somebody that's struggling with addiction, or even, and it's not just, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, gambling addiction, sex addiction? All those things. Those are distractions. Those are distractions. People one of the big things about alcohol and drugs and those other addictions is that people are trying to change the way they feel. Mm-hmm. What you got to try to do is change the way you feel, organically and naturally. And something that can change the way you feel that's good for you is to go out, if you're physically capable, to go run 5 miles or 3 miles or 2 miles. Or a quarter mile, go out, play golf, go fly fishing, do the things you want to do, volunteer, the food bank, volunteer, work with your kids, little league, be a little league coach, be a Pee-wee football coach, do something like that. And that will help you feel better about the way you feel, and you won't feel like you have to change it. I kind of hate to say this, but you should be damn afraid of substance abuse. You need to you need to look at alcohol and drugs and all those sort of things as something that's going to take something away from you, and that are going to harm you, because that's exactly what they're there for. Yeah. For you. Wow. If you're going down that road, if your brother-in-law, who is obnoxious and noisy and has, 6.7 drinks per month, that's not you. You're the person to whom that alcohol is taking you. And like the Japanese cliche for alcohol is, first a man takes a drink, then the drink takes a drink, then the drink takes the man. Yeah. Okay. And somewhere there's 20 or 100 drinks. The Japanese didn't think to insert your 20 or my 100 drinks into there. The drink takes a drink, then the man takes 100 drinks or 20 drinks. So, but that's it. I think to be afraid of failure and knowing where it is. There's where it is. If you go into the grocery store every day and you're buying 2 cases of beer to get you through the weekend, and you're going to drink every single one of them yourself, right? Probably a good idea to be afraid. Yeah, good idea to do something different, right? There it is. Like there's all kinds of great cliches, and there's just a lot of great warnings, like in country music. I play all different genres of music, but there's these classic songs like "There Stands the Glass." There stands the glass, going up to the brims. Let my troubles begin. It's my first one today. Or Hank Williams, that died at 29. I quit drinking at 29. He died at 29, and that song "Lost Highway." The opening verses: "I'm a rolling stone, all alone and lost. For a life of sin, I've paid the cost. When I walk by, all the people say, there goes another guy down the lost highway."
Wow.
Yeah. And it's there. That lost highway is there. But at the same time, just get the hell off that lost highway. Don't get the road map out or punch it in your computer. Well, now, hold on now. It says we need to take a 360-degree turn and go back the other way, back toward the light, back toward success. Because success is a self-perpetuating thing.
Yeah.
And I really like what you were saying about how that's the most valuable thing.
Yep.
Is you really focus on, I kind of focus on that too, but it is true because it's something that could cost you everything.
Yeah. And it would.
Your health, your family, money, success, promotion at work, all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's Jay doing now? When's the album coming out? Can we get the album?
Well, I got a really bad case. Well, you will be able to. I got a really bad case of writer's block now because I have some original material. Okay. I dusted off a couple really old classic songs that were kind of underappreciated. Just one example is in 1967, I was 13-year-old bass player in a garage band, and Lee Hazelwood and Nancy Sinatra put out a song called "Some Velvet Morning When I'm Straight." Some Velvet Morning, and it's been kind of a cult classic all these years. A bunch of the Vanilla Fudge have covered it. A lot of people have covered it. The model Kate Moss, what the hell, covered it. All these different people because it's so spooky, and so that's probably we're just about done with that one. Okay. And I could email you the proof of it. And what we've done, I've hired these wonderful musicians, studio musicians, and our drummer is Greg Bissonette, who's Ringo Starr's drummer, and he played with the Highwayman with Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson, and he's played with Santana and David Lee Roth for several years, and he recorded with Ray Charles, for gosh sake.
Oh wow.
And Engelbert Humperdinck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're dating yourself even more, Jay.
So anyway, but these are Hollywood musicians. This is where these guys live. See, so we go out at night, and my friend is a voice mechanic. He's on the internet. If anyone's in Los Angeles and wants to take singing lesson, he's from Toronto, and a lot of fun. And the voice mechanic, Los Angeles singing coach. So I'm just kind of an unpaid intern with him, and I helping people. Okay. And I'm always got my antennas out for somebody who's maybe kind of on that lost highway. Yeah. You're living your dream. Yeah. Having fun. Well, I'm still working a little bit, right. Still helping coach those people get up and going. And I've always kept a really close eye out for people with their substance abuse issues. So if somebody was having issues and needed help, where would you recommend they reach out to? Do you have some way they could get in contact with you or to the Follman Agency or? Well, Follman Agency, we're only in Skagit Valley, but right. They can call me anytime. I'm real easy to find. And they could call the Follman Agency at 757-1134. Okay. Code 360 and ask for me, and they would be able to track me down, or they could contact you, and I'll give you my phone, my secret flip phone, the Noble flip phone. The Noble flip phone. No, these don't get lonesome and start calling people and leaving big messages on a recorder like some of those other phones do. Yeah. But if you're clean and sober, you don't have to worry about stuff like that. You can accidentally record just about anything by accident. Okay. Dialing out of your back pocket. That's kind of I like to think that way, that I could, if I'm living my life right, that I could just about have anything I say, because thanks to sobriety and hard work, I'm very upbeat. I don't badmouth people. I don't, chastise people for disagreeing with me in any way, shape, or form. Right. But so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate it. What was the Follman Agency's number again?
360-755-1134. Oh my
1134. God. Okay. And again, if anybody, would want to get a hold of Jay.
Yeah, happy to talk.
The name of your company, Industrial Resources. I mean, that's you.
They call there, and you'll be told that I'm not keeping regular hours, but they'll get the message to me.
No, but
you'll find out there, someone calls me and tells it that it's a reference from this from this thing. I would be delighted to chat with just about anybody.
But I think
the next couple of weeks, if you want to find me, I am in my normal haunt in Los Angeles. I just left there last night, and I'll be back there in a couple of nights. But I can be found at the Chateau Marmont Hotel on Sunset Strip.
But what I was saying about Industrial Resources is you are a person with major resources. So if anybody needs help.
Oh, that. You mean
Anybody needs help. Anybody wants somebody that can really give you some knowledge. You are the person. And I truly appreciate you being on here, Jay.
Well, yeah, we can build, complete factories, production plants. You remember when Seattle, when those ships came in from town, they had all the cargo containers hanging like that on? We're the ones that got on board those ships and we repaired them. We got on a ship in Seattle and repaired them on the way to Yokohama or all the way to Busan, riding. And so a company that can do that, that's a lot of rigging with those boxes and then fixing all the steel that was torn. Yeah. So if we can do that, you can do just about anything. Yeah. And I'm happy to talk about construction, any of those kind of challenges.
Yeah. Anytime. Or about addiction.
About addiction.
You want to talk about addiction, fishing, construction,
commercial fisherman,
Jay's a man. So, no, we could keep talking, but we got to cut this off. I truly appreciate your time and all the information that you've given us here, Jay.
Well, I'm happy to come on because you're a guide towards success to people out there in the world, and you set a wonderful example.
Thank you.
And and I just love your spirit and going forward, trying, helping people help themselves, really.
Yep. People helped us.
Giving that people, the pat on the back, the brother you never had or whoever it is. But so I would encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for having me, and onward and upward.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Never Buy the Book. Share it with someone you know or care about. And don't forget to schedule through your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. As we close today, remember, if you're not doing it by the book, it just might mean you're on to something great. Until next time, be great.